For the next hour, deepen your shade of green. This is the Shades of Green radio show, featuring the latest in technology, money-saving ideas, legislative updates, and all things green. The Shades of Green radio show is presented by the Green Alliance. Now here's your hosts, Paul Ira and Stan Hannell.
Good morning. This is the Shades of Green radio show, simulcast on KDWN 720 AM and KDON's 101.5 FM in Las Vegas. Our show is produced by the Green Alliance of Nevada, sponsored by NV Energy, and I'm your host, Stan Hannell, filling in for Paul Ira today. Also in studio, our co-host or producer, Annette Bubak, who will be broadcasting this episode on Facebook Live. Listeners to this program who might have questions for our guests can call into the radio station at 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-KDWN. Today's guest speakers are Marcus Burley, Associate Professor of Environmental Physics at the Desert Research Institute, and a member of the Nevada Solar Energy Water Environment Project known as Solar Nexus Project as an abbreviation. And we also have Elspeth DeMarcio, who's a manager of the Beyond Coal campaign within the Sierra Club, the Toyabe chapter here in Nevada. Welcome, both of you. Thank you for being here today. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. And Dr. Burley, please introduce yourself and tell us about your study of environmental physics. How did you get into that field? That sounds really interesting.
Thank you, Stan, for having me here today. My name is Marcus Burley. I'm an environmental physicist, and I work at the Desert Research Institute here in Las Vegas. My research is mainly about the physics of soil, so I study how water and energy moves and gets stored in soil, and how well the soils play a role in natural environments.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As part of your work at DRI, you're part of this Solar Nexus team. Can you tell us more about the Solar Nexus project and how that impacts your work there?
Yes, absolutely. So the Solar Nexus project started in June 2013 with the goal to create a center of excellence in Nevada for research on solar energy generation and its impact on water resources, water usage, and the environment. So in essence, we were researching new ways how solar energy plants are designed, built, and utilized, helping Nevada to become one of the leading states in the field of solar energy, water, and environmental research. So the Solar Nexus project involves 48 different faculty, 14 technicians, and 30 graduate students from the universities of Nevada and Las Vegas and Reno, as well as from the Desert Research Institute. So this is a 5-year project that's been supported by the National Science Foundation. We received a $20 million grant plus a $4 million match from the state of Nevada.
That's fantastic. So it was a statewide effort in research, and it started I know we have a booming solar industry here. We have 300 days of sunshine throughout the year, and we've had a lot of growth in companies installing solar around the state. And it sounds like this project was an attempt to say, yes, we want more solar here, but because we have a fragile desert, how can we do it so that we're conserving water resources and also being gentle with the environment as well? So I think that was really interesting. I guess, why is it important to focus on that nexus between solar, water, and the environment?
Well, harvesting solar energy to produce electricity makes sense, especially in areas like Nevada, one of the sunniest places on Earth. Energy production, however, also needs water, which is a scarce resource in deserts where there is a lot of sunshine. Also, solar developments may have an impact on the desert environment. So solar energy generation, water, and the environment are connected, and this connection or nexus is not well understood.
That's fantastic. And what discoveries did the Solar Nexus team make about these connections between solar, energy, water, and the environment?
We had a variety of individual discoveries ranging from new coatings for solar cells, better dry cooling, and energy conversion systems. We also had teams developing new ways to clean water with solar energy, or to look at the general footprint of a large solar facility out here in the desert. But I think these are just a few individual components. An important one, and I think much broader one, was about really looking into developing human and research infrastructure here in the state. And so the first thing that really came to my mind, that this project brought researchers from very different backgrounds and different disciplines together.
That's
so
great.
this is necessary to provide solutions to a complex problem like the solar energy water environment nexus. I'm one of these researchers who, when I started on the Solar Nexus project, learned a lot about all the different research areas that are actually going on within the state. And so it was primarily about bringing all these people together from the different disciplines and start working together. I think that's one of the main things that we achieved in this project.
Yeah, I think that's neat. You went beyond just pure science research and started to bring in folks like the Sierra Club and economic advisors and basically just a lot of different diverse things to solve a real world problem that sometimes requires more than just the knowledge of the science involved. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic. With that focus on improving solar technology and effectiveness while minimizing the use of our critical water resources and negative impacts to the environment, have you seen any real world applications or projects that have come out of that research that we can apply to our local economy?
That's an interesting point. We actually had a chance to work together with Valley Electric, and they developed a community solar project out in Pahrump. And our researchers now are collaborating with Valley Electric and trying to figure out how does their solar project, their program really impact the environment? How does this affect the vegetation? How does this affect the animals? So it's
the
really
desert
cool.
tortoise, I think, was the
Exactly,
critical
absolutely.
ingredient, right? Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, I remember as part of Green Alliance, we did a bus tour of that facility a couple months ago, and it was fun to see the little rectangular gates for the desert tortoise to come in and out of the solar farms, where some of them, I guess there was that actual project where when they were building it, they actually physically removed them, but they tagged them and kept track of them. So that was kind of neat. So those kind of projects are something that goes beyond just pure science, I think. That's
Absolutely.
fun. And we'll talk about that some more when we come back. Welcome back to Shades of Green radio show, simulcast on KDWN 720 AM and KDWN 101.5 FM in Las Vegas. Our show is produced by Green Alliance of Nevada, sponsored by NV Energy, and I'm your host, Stan Hannell. Today we've been speaking with Dr. Marcus Burley from the Desert Research Institute about the Solar Nexus project. It was a $24 million project over 5 years that was awarded to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the Desert Research Institute, and the University of Nevada, Reno, targeted toward high-level graduate students to do real groundbreaking research on the connections between solar energy installations as well as water resources and how that affects the environment in the state as we grow more and more solar facilities. So it was really interesting. You had four main goals within the program that you were trying to achieve. Can you talk a bit more about those?
Yes, absolutely. So the primary goal was to really advance new knowledge and discoveries in the solar energy, water, and environment arena. So a large part of the project really was about research, building research capacity. But we also had a cyber infrastructure component. Cyber infrastructure basically means to improve the connection between researchers using computers, using the internet, helping researchers out, for example, with data warehouses, and just make sure we have the best possible computer infrastructure in the state to do our research.
That's fantastic. So fast modeling and the ability to spread that information around to different people involved in the project. That's great. And as you were mentioning, there were 48 faculty members involved, 14 technicians, over 30 PhD level and master's level students. So really a good chance, an opportunity for them to collaborate, and not just in pure research, but also in other areas, other disciplines as well.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. And the diversity component, this grant came from the National Science Foundation through their EPSCoR project, which is, I looked it up, it's experimental program for stimulation of competitive research. And it's a way that the National Science Foundation likes to distribute the money it has to all states, so that even states that don't have the high-end university systems like California and Texas and Massachusetts get a chance to be involved in cutting-edge research. So I think that was really good. So what what was your diversity goal in that and all that?
As you said, Stan, besides building a research infrastructure in the state, the goal was also to basically educate the next generation of scientists and researchers. So starting with K through 12, the kids in school, basically, to explain them. So what is engineering? What is science?
That's great.
Related to these topics, solar energy, water, and the environment. And then what we called building a STEM pipeline, so a science, technology, engineering, and math pipeline that would then bring these kids eventually to the university into undergraduate and graduate programs.
These kids are your farm team for the future here.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
That's great. Yeah, and then also the economic dimension, workforce development and education. That's unusual for a project of this scope to look at that side, as well as and external engagement with the public. Can you talk a little bit more about the outreach that was involved with that?
Yeah, it's the reason why I'm here today, actually.
Awesome.
To talk about the project. So scientists and engineers are used to talk to fellow scientists and engineers. And so
kind of a cloistered community sometimes, right?
Once they should explain what they do to the community, that's a whole different story. And so this project specifically had one goal that was about communicating research to the community, but also to reach out to industry agencies and other stakeholders in the public domain, because it's not just about doing our research and then communicating out what we have done, but it's also about learning what are the different issues, the different perspectives. For example, from industry, what's really cutting edge, what's on their mind, what do they need in the future? You mentioned the economic component, so it's basically it's a collaborative effort between industry and science or engineering eventually that brings us further.
Right, engineering is kind of the application of science, creating practical things that come out of your research that we can use to help our economy, to create jobs, to create new industries. So that's really exciting. That's fantastic. Just looking back on some of these things. It's wrapping up this year. What are the next steps for this project? And I think the 5-year program began in 2013, and here we are at 2018. So you're coming to the end of that cycle. So what are your next steps for this project, and what resources did the project bring to Nevada that are now available for all of us, I guess?
Maybe I can start with the resources first. So what was really special about this project, we could bring 4 new faculty to the state.
Wow.
We had this lack of expertise in, for example, advanced coating technologies to develop new solar cells. We also needed somebody who could do nanotechnology and use nanotechnology to clean up water. We were able to hire a restoration ecologist that could look into question of if you disturb desert environments, how do you bring them back to their original state, as well as a very important component too when you're talking about solar is the economy of solar. So how are these two connected? So we brought these 4 very talented young researchers to the state that will hopefully now in the future help us to do great research.
And influence other students over time. That's great. That's fantastic. Okay, and so basically the Solar Nexus project, we talked about the external engagement and the marketing. You've got an event coming up on October 9th. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have an event organized at the Springs Preserve on October 9th. It's basically just to show what we've done in the project. It's
sort of
free.
like an open house.
Open house. It's like an open house of the project. That's very well put.
Cool.
It's basically meet and greet the scientists, faculty, the students, and just learn a little bit more about what the project was about and what it brought to Nevada and how it's hopefully going to be useful for the future.
That sounds like fun. That's going to be at the Springs Preserve. It's on October 9th. I think runs from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. is kind of the meet and greet part, and then 6:30 to 8 p.m. you're going to have a panel of some of the scientists that were involved in the project, just talking about the results of it. And that'll be at the Desert Living Center on the Springs Preserve campus. So that looks like fun. I'll put that on my calendar for sure. Thank you so much. Also, in our studio here, we have Elspeth DiMarzio, who's with the Sierra Club. And how did the Sierra Club become involved in this project?
Yeah, the Sierra Club is, we're a national nonprofit organization that works on environmental issues. So we're always looking for local partners to work with on events relating to especially our fragile desert environment in the Southwest. So we have an existing group of members and supporters who are particularly interested in events like this. So we're partnering with UNLV and DRI, and but we hope everyone listening today can also join us for the event, because it's going to be a great kind of space for the community to get together and learn about some of the newest science around solar technology in our state.
And it's ever changing, right?
Yeah,
we have
absolutely.
300 days of sunshine a year here, so it's amazing how so quickly we've adapted to it. And we're harnessing it, and we're using it for our homes and for our transportation, for electric cars.
That's right.
So that's been incredible to see. What other benefits does a transition to a clean energy economy bring to our state besides kind of decarbonizing our grid, making us more independent?
Yeah, I mean, I think decarbonizing the grid is obviously a huge one. So that's a top priority. But for our local Southern Nevada and Nevada economy, it means good jobs for the state. We partner with IBEW on a number of things, and
That's the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Yeah,
all right?
thank you, Stan. That's right.
No worries.
So,
we like to stretch our acronyms out.
Yeah, thank you. So, solar jobs in our state mean good, union jobs, and it's super important to our economy.
Fantastic. We're going to talk about more of that when we come back. Welcome back to Shades of Green radio show, simulcast on KDWN 720 AM and KDWN 101.5 FM in Las Vegas. Our show is produced by Green Alliance of Nevada, sponsored by MV Energy, and I'm host Stan Hannell, filling in for Paul Ira. If any listeners have questions for our guest speakers today, the phone number is 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-5396. We're talking today with Professor Marcus Burley from the Desert Research Institute and from Elspeth DiMarzio from the Sierra Club about the Solar Nexus project, a 5-year program that's wrapping up. It began in 2013 and involved all 3 higher education facilities, University of Nevada, Reno, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and the Desert Research Institute, both north and south. Basically, it employed 48 faculty, 14 technicians, and 30 PhD level and master's level students to work on the nexus, the connections of solar power installations in our state, as well as its effects on water resources and environmental resources as well. But what was interesting is the results of these 5 years have also helped bring practical programs that hopefully are good for our economy as well. And you spent a lot of time, Dr. Burley, with that. Can you talk more about how you interacted with local industry through your research?
Thank you, Stan. So the goal really was to, first of all, reach out to industry and find out what's their cutting-edge need. I mean, how can we help them in order to improve, for example, solar energy production, solar cell development, whatnot. I mentioned already, I think, dry cooling technologies, solar energy to electricity conversion, and whatnot.
And so, that's makes the solar cells more efficient to actually create more electricity for a given area of
right.
sun,
But also an important part always is if you think about solar thermal electricity production, you, for example, also need cooling in order to produce electricity.
That's
and
true,
so getting away from using water to cool and go towards air to cool, especially in dry environments, that's a very important point. And so in this process of starting to interact with industry, we learned about some of their concerns or what they are interested in. And so, for example, with respect to the environmental component, we've learned that industry would like to move away from grading and blading and more towards minimal disturbance when they develop their big solar plants.
So instead of just flattening the earth, let's leave the earth in place and try and build on top of it and around it, I guess.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And so what we are talking about today is really trying to find out what really happens if you go in with a solar plant with minimum amount of disturbance, and what happens to the plants, what happens to the animals, what happens to the environment. There is this notion out there that you might even create like a little island or like a little
ecosystem
out in the desert because you're fencing off certain areas, so certain plant animals are gonna be protected inside of the fence.
That's a good point,
we looked at how for example the water distribution inside of the solar facility is going to change, because you can see these solar panels, these structures like umbrellas. So they basically redistribute the rainwater. So you will have areas that are wetter, areas that are drier. Different vegetation will move in, and so it's quite fascinating to see how these things work, and especially on a large scale. If you think about a square mile of solar panels, that has an impact.
Wow, you could have a little rainforest in the desert here.
Kind of.
That's great. That's fantastic. Also, we talk about economic diversification. One of the goals of our state after we came through the last recession is to try and create newer industries and new jobs that go beyond our gaming industry. That's our primary driver out here. What kind of new industries are you seeing coming out of your research here?
Well, it's maybe not just the industry itself, but at least what we can do with the project now is to basically set the stage and can say, well, you can actually have the research done inside of the state. You can have the workforce that would be needed in order to attract this sort of industry. And so I think we're not there yet, but I think we kind of set the stage now for becoming more attractive for high tech, for example, to come to Nevada.
And that's interesting. You worked with the governor's Office of Workforce Innovation. It's also acronym OWIN, I think it's, and they'll be partnering on this event as well on October 9th. So that was really great to hear. What's interesting is you were talking about attracting folks from outside the state. So it's not just within the state that we're creating industry, but I think Jennifer was telling me about the Canadian exports and imports that basically there might be interest from a trade group to come through and see what kind of trade is possible between our state and in Canada as well.
Yes. So that was part of this outreach component. Throughout the project, we reached out to industry and other entities, not just within the United States, but globally. So we had contacts to Australia, Europe, other parts of Asia. And it's really just about finding out, what do other teams do, what do other groups do, and what are our needs also, say, for example, from the solar industry in different countries. There are different efforts we know about that are going on. For example, in Australia, they have very similar environmental conditions like we have here in Nevada. So we basically learn from each other, and just it's just an interesting interaction too, to see what others or other people are facing, and it's a fascinating topic.
And you write detailed studies and research papers that go around the world, I guess, in this type of thing. So
that's true. I mean, research on that level is very international. So it's really kind of you share what you find and you learn from others, and then hopefully you're able to break it down to your local problem and say, okay, so that's specifically what we're trying to look at, and maybe somebody else already figured it out. And
as in Australia,
you bring it on board. Yeah. And absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's great. Elspeth, we were talking about Nevada's goals for carbon reduction, but also leading the West in exploring clean energy and how clean energy helps diversify our economy. Can you talk a little bit more about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that clean energy can be, in a state where we have, a lot of people think of us as just kind of one with casinos. The clean energy industry is really pioneering in the work Marcus and his colleagues are doing to bring new investments into the state.
Wonderful. And we'll talk a little bit more when we come back after this break. Thank you. Welcome back to Shades of Green radio show, simulcast on KDWN 720 AM and KDON 101.5 FM in Las Vegas. Our show is produced by Green Alliance of Nevada, sponsored by Envy Energy, and I'm your host, Dan Hannell, sitting in for Paul Ira today. Also, over the last three segments, we've been talking with Professor Marcus Burley, Associate Professor of Environmental Physics at the Desert Research Institute, and with Elspeth DiMarzio from the Sierra Club, about Solar Nexus Project, a 5-year program that has been involved all our high-end university campuses, the Desert Research Institute, and is focused on actual coming up with practical applications for industry beyond just doing research on solar technology, tying that into how can that help our workforce development and also reach out to our community to better understand how all these solar technologies benefit our community. So basically, before we get into that, I just want to make one announcement. The Green Alliance of Nevada has an upcoming event on Thursday night, September 20th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. We'll be celebrating the annual Green Tie event, and it's a mixer inside a model home at the Bluffs community in Southern Highlands, designed and built by Blue Heron. Chef Myra will be catering and showcasing her specialty vegan dishes, while Blue Heron owner, co-founder Tyler Jones will give a tour of the energy-efficient features of the custom home and its design. If you'd like to participate in this event, please visit our website, greenalliancenv.org, and you can sign up there and meet with the folks and see some interesting technology and get some great taste experiences, too, from Chef Myra. So fantastic. Elspeth, we were, before we ended the last segment, we were talking about how this 5-year program has actually been contributing to diversification and for our economy in the area. You have some numbers you can give us on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a recent report by the Clean Energy Project and E2, I think that mid to late 2017 showed that the clean energy economy, or jobs in the clean energy economy rather, grew 9.5% in the last year. And
Nice.
Currently we have over 30,000 Nevadans who are employed in the clean energy industry, which is actually more Nevadans than we have in the fossil fuel industry in state. So it's a growing industry. It's a clean industry. It has, good paying jobs, and it's, it's sustainable and bettering our economy and our environment.
And cutting edge technology too.
Absolutely.
These are things that through the university we're actually developing technologies that other states are looking to us as leadership. So I think that was kind of neat.
That's what it's so important that we fund programs like the Solar Nexus so that we can have efficiencies in the state that continue to drive down costs in solar and make it more accessible for every Nevadan. So we're really proud to be working with Solar Nexus on this event coming up on October 9th. And I should also mention that the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation is also going to be a partner of this event on the 9th. And part of their vision statement is to kind of advance a vibrant and sustainable economy, and things like to help drive a skilled, diverse and a workforce in the state. And that's exactly what the project has been doing.
And this will be on October 9th at Springs Preserve.
Yeah.
It'll be in from 5:30 to 8 p.m. And where can people find more information about it?
Well, I think we're actually just working on some materials now, but I think if you check the Sierra Club's website in the next day or so, we'll have some more information up there, and I suspect DRI as well. But yeah, please come and join us and learn more about some of the innovations and the work that's been doing. There will be grad students and Sierra Club members and folks from the state government there to talk about this incredible work.
That's always gratifying to see that kind of accomplishment when you do private-public partnerships like that. And that your website is sierraclub.org,
Yep.
www.sierraclub.org.
Yeah, and you can kind of toggle down to our Nevada-specific work there.
Fantastic. You folks do a lot for the state here, and thank you for all that. Great. Also, other projects that Green Alliance has been involved with. Recently, last week, our producer Annette was a presenter at a presentation at University of Nevada in Reno in their Innovation Center that focused on net zero energy homes. Did you want to talk about how that went?
State's Department of Energy's program called Zero Energy Ready Homes, and it's strictly for residential. And basically what the program is it takes codes and it takes energy programs like Energy Star and creates a path to really advance the way that we build homes so that they are as energy efficient as possible, but it also addresses water preservation and conservation. It also addresses indoor air quality. And then it also creates a path so that all of these homes are ready for being a net zero home at some point.
Fantastic. That includes putting solar on the rooftops. Yeah.
Well, for this program, it depends. The most important thing is that it's ready. And
Right.
so a builder then can elect to either offer solar as an option or as a standard feature or not at all, but the new homeowner moves in and all they have to do is plug and play.
That's
Just
fantastic.
find a solar provider to go ahead and make that installation, and then it's already equipped for it.
So they've plumbed extra conduit with the wires ready to hook up. And they
So
don't have
everything
to-
in the walls and it's all just right there. The infrastructure's there. The roof has plenty of space saved for a PV system.
Fantastic.
Where sometimes once you build a home and the roofs are cut up and you go to put your system on,
Right,
you just
yeah.
can't quite get enough
It's like
to power it up.
piecemeal,
So
yeah.
But the program was really great. We were able to work with builders, architects. We have builder officials. We have the State Office of Energy there, all of the utilities, and it was a workshop to introduce the program. And our goal, of course, was to share the path towards a zero energy ready home. With the idea that we'll start adopting it here in Nevada. And
Fantastic.
nationally, we have about 20,000 homes that have met this requirement.
Wow.
And we're just kind of taking that same approach as we did Energy Star now and introducing this
Is this
program.
through Department of Energy as
It
well?
is. Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
And it's
great.
through their Building America, program that they have there. So yeah, it was a great success. We felt like that we had a very engaged audience and excited about it. So
That's neat.
we're happy.
Yeah, I like that diversification. And again, multidisciplinary, you're pulling in a lot of different organizations, your science, your technology mixed with construction, mixed with consumers and jobs hopefully being created on that. And I love that with the university, the idea that ideas come out of the university, but they can be patented and then licensed to companies that want to run with those ideas and create whole industries around them. And so we hope to see more of that in Nevada. I know there's a Harry Reid Research Park on the west side of town that has a lot of open land for startup companies that hopefully will someday be populating that. So that's always great to see that kind of progress out here. And anything else coming out of like the Center for Energy Research that might be worth talking about looking at in the future? Anything you're working on right now, or you're pretty much more involved in wrapping this up? Yeah, what's neat, I've been, for folks that don't know about it, there's a Center for Energy Research at UNLV that's right on Flamingo Road. And you can recognize the lab by the big solar panels that are out in front, some of them tracking the sun. So we thank you for listening today. Have a great week and keep it green out there. Thank you to our guests, Dr. Marcus Burley and Elizabeth DiMarzio as well. Thank you so much for coming on our show today.